So I started the recording. People are still wandering in, but yeah.
Make sure you're ready to start. Make sure to record.
Thank you so much, Karen. Hi. Hi. So, welcome to the, I'm going to go ahead and start, you guys, just for the heck of it, just to keep on schedule, okay? Yeah, you know, very un-Buddhist thing to do. So tonight is our introduction to the Mahayana, which is also translated as the Great Vehicle. You read the introduction material. I gave you that to read, which said that the main difference between Theravada, what Doug has been covering, and Mahayana is the view of emptiness. One focuses on the emptiness of self or ego, and now the emphasis expands. The emphasis expands to include the emptiness of everything, all phenomena. In the book, in the introduction, it says this. It says, the Mahayana emphasis on emptiness had the effect of causing a vast new vision to burst forth, a vision of countless worlds inhabited by countless beings and countless Buddhas. Within the immensity of this universal vision, individual liberation became too narrow a goal. Turning from that inward focus, practice was now directed outward to encompass everything. The ideal of an arhat seeking to extinguish personal suffering gives way to the ideal of a bodhisattva seeking to save all beings, all universes of beings. So it's a big deal. And this arose about 500 years after the Buddha's death. Okay.
So the terminology, I haven't paid any attention to what I just heard you read. The arhat is enlightenment back with the
Theravada.
The Theravada, and the Bodhisattva is terminology for enlightenment in the Mahayana.
Yeah, and it's an adaptation. The Bodhisattva just means somebody who's on the way to becoming a Buddha. But it was pretty simple in the Theravada. The Buddha was the one on the way to becoming a Buddha. He, in his past lives, he was a Bodhisattva, and then he became the Buddha, and that was that. And so this is just saying, maybe more people can be involved in,
lots of Buddhas.
In that,
Countless Buddhas, not just the one original Buddha.
But the word arhat was used with the original 5 months.
That's right. An arahant is someone who becomes enlightened by following a Buddha's teaching. I mean, that's the key. That's the framework. You have a Buddha who introduces the teaching. The arahants hear the teaching and become enlightened. That's the Theravada model.
So they're the only ones that could become arhats because they're the only ones that actually heard it from Buddha?
Or later.
No, I mean just heard the teachings.
Heard and followed his path.
The Buddha introduced, the teachings weren't there. Then the Buddha shows up and gives out the teachings. Now the teachings exist in the world. Now there can be arahants.
Okay, I have more to say.
Yes,
but let's see if the answers come. Okay. So I want to go back to what I just said was that the main difference is the way the two schools view emptiness. Okay. And I want to say this, that when we use the word emptiness, I'm not talking about a black hole or a void or nothingness, but rather a world of unlimited possibilities. And here I'm going to quote Chogyam Trungpa. He says this, when we begin to realize that the nature of phenomena is free from concept, empty by itself, that the chairs and tables and rugs and curtains and walls are no longer in the way, then we can expand our notion of love infinitely. The very purpose of discussing the nature of emptiness is to provide us with a space that we can fill with affection, love without expectation, without demand, without possession. That notion of emptiness is one of the most powerful things Mahayana has to contribute. And it was, just pause for a second and think about this hugeness of like, here's this historical figure, he sets out this path, we assemble in monasteries, we follow the path, we train faithfully, we liberate ourselves from suffering. Now you have this idea that everything is different than how you think it is. Everything is more vast, everything is more alive, and there have been countless numbers of Buddhas, and you could be one too. So, let me keep going, and just pause me when you need me to, okay? So another significant difference arises in the notion of Buddha nature. This notion existed in Theravada, but it takes a center stage in Mahayana. And so let's talk about Buddha nature and where that comes from. So first we have to consider the Buddha's teachings on dependent origination or interdependence, which poor old Doug has been trying to get around to covering. We haven't given him a chance to do it yet. But I'm telling you that notion is not new to Mahayana. That was always part of the Buddha's teachings. Interdependence, which is also mentioned in the readings for tonight. With the notion of dependent origination, the Buddha claimed a new perspective in the world, occupying the space between the extreme of nihilism and the extreme of eternalism. And let me talk about what that means. And anyway, nihilism means that nothing matters. Life is meaningless. This belief is very much alive today. I found a current website, that said, the world is nothing more than a collection of matter in motion, and all meaning that we assign to it is an illusion. If you're looking for a new perspective on life, nihilism might be worth exploring. Can you believe it? There's kind of a new following for nihilism. And I think that the tech bros are a very good example of this idea that you can create a new thing and not be concerned with its implications or the effect it has on the world, like Mark Zuckerberg or something. Make Facebook, have it change everything about human culture, but hey, only measure is whether it's making money or not. There's no other reason to even think about it, because anything else you overlay onto that effort is fruitless, meaningless. Okay, on the other extreme, or the other side, is eternalism, which is the idea that everything exists forever, including our souls, and therefore everything we do has profound meaning. There's also a notion of eternal goodness, or principles of goodness. So we commonly think about fundamentalist religions as being eternalists because they promise that if everything will work out okay if you follow the rules and have faith. Because there's some kind of grand existing thing. And I think for myself that my persistent faith in things like public education and civil rights and democracy might be a sort of my own personal eternalism trap. Because I keep on hoping these things are going to save us, even though they really aren't. And I have no evidence that they ever will. And there's this sense of then, when you have this idea that goodness exists and needs to be preserved, you have something to protect. You have territory that you're going to fight for, okay? And in both cases, having nothing that matters and having territory to fight for are traps. Because what if none of that is true? You know, what if there's just a world without all of that? That's the idea. So we're going to talk a lot more about Buddha nature as we go through the Mahayana. But for now, I only want to emphasize one thing, and that is the idea that Buddha nature already exists in all of us. Indeed, in every being. It is not something like a seed that we grow in a garden or something we have to learn how to do. In fact, it's more like a mature voice inside of us that we have to learn to listen to. We have to hear. But it's fully developed. Anam Thupten was here once and he said, people think it's like you have this little baby Buddha inside of you, and you feed it and nurture it, take it to school, watch it grow up, and then you're a Buddha. You know? And he's like, no, you are already a fully developed Buddha, but you're confused about it. So that is a radical change from the Theravada. And so for now, let's just talk about, we're going to go back to talking about Buddha nature, I promise. But for now, let's just say that Buddha nature is our capacity to see things as they really are, without any philosophical overlays of any kind. Just wide open, clear-eyed perception. Zen people call it big mind because it lives in the space beyond thinking, like the clear blue sky we've talked about beyond the clouds. That's what we're referencing here. So this new perspective in Mahayana changed how people meditate too. The focus moved from working with our suffering to working with our innate wisdom. In the book, it said Mahayana meditation is, quote, Buddhahood on the spot, which I'd never heard before, but I really like that expression because it's, when we're meditating in Mahayana training, we're listening to ourselves and expecting to hear wisdom because it's already there, okay? So that's also a pretty big difference. So is this making sense? Yeah? Okay, so now let's look at the Heart Sutra. Its full name is the Heart Sutra of Transcendent Wisdom, and it is actually supposed to be the, representation of female wisdom. We don't say a lot about that, but it is. The mother of all the Buddhas is Prajnaparamita. She's not the wife. She's the mother. So the Prajnaparamita mantra, sutra, describes how to transcend conceptual thinking and realize the perspective of pure Buddha nature or pure perception or big mind. That's what it's talking about in there. And it also expresses the Mahayana view of interdependence that I just talked about, this space where everything is possible and potential. So the sutra has two speaking figures plus the Buddha in the background who doesn't say anything until the end. And Shariputra is the guy who asked the question, and he was, theoretically, or he was one of a most accomplished representative of the early Buddhist wisdom schools. He is an arhat. And he asked the question, how should we train in wisdom? And the one who answers the question, Avalokiteshvara, is a bodhisattva, an embodiment of compassion. I feel like I'm going too fast. I'm saying a lot of stuff, but that's okay. We'll come back over it all. These two are the two wings of enlightenment, wisdom and compassion. So that's why they're both there. And they have to have this conversation, kind of. So Shariputra says, how do you train in wisdom? And Avalokiteshvara tells him, unless you quit clinging to what you think you know, you won't see the whole picture. One scholar said that the Heart Sutra was intended to help the Sarvastidans relinquish their view of no self and no dharma, to challenge their attachment to their whole system of thinking. In the Sutra, Avalokiteshvara goes through some of these most fundamental Buddhist teachings, including the 5 skandhas that we talked about last week. And he says that they're simply statements about reality, not reality itself. And that they are therefore not true in the highest sense. And they represent our system of thinking, but the system is only a thought system, not reality. You have to let go of all systems if you want to see the truth. That's what he says. A bodhisattva has to see through all thought systems and rely instead on the innate wisdom that perceives things as they are, that perceives reality directly. In other words, to realize and rely on Buddha nature. And this sutra is understood to represent a very big moment in Buddhism, a major shift. I tried to think about an appropriate analogy. It's so like woo-woo and out there, for the first time when you hear it. But let's think about music, for example. Imagine that you have spent your whole life training as a musician here in America or anywhere in the West. And you've thoroughly mastered music. You're composing it, you're playing it beautifully. And music, if you've ever studied it, is a whole system of structure, And our Western music is built on 2 scales, major and minor. And everything else, everything from a lullaby to a hymn to an opera is built on these 2 scales, major and minor. So, Shariputra is an arhat who's expert in music. The other thing is we write down our songs. So you can today play something that someone wrote 600 years ago and it'll sound just like they made it sound. That's important to us. We want a way of recording so we can capture things and reproduce them. But if you're an advanced musician, you're very attached to that understanding of music. And for you, this Western music system is music. In other words, the system is the same as music itself, but there are other music systems. So like in India, a raja, or raga, I'm not sure, I'm going to say raja, uses one of 72 scales, not just 2. And they always involve improvisation, so that a single raga never sounds the same. It sounds different every time it's played, and each one is associated with a particular time of day or season of the year, and you're not supposed to play a morning raga after noon. And they're also considered to be somewhat magical because people play a monsoon raga during a drought, hoping it'll cause rain. And people learn them, they're not written down. They're transmitted person to person, master to student. So you spend your life learning the ragas of the guy that has ragas to transmit to you. So, there's nothing similar, and yet both of these systems are describing music. So I'm just trying to say, there is reality. There is music, we all hear it. It's sound waves, it's a physical thing, right? But the way we think about it is a complete construction. And we believe in the way we think about things. It means a lot to us. But they are not the same thing. And when we stick with the one we believe in, we miss all these other possibilities that are out there. So here in Rajagriha, this site The Buddhist followers are being told, hey, there's more to reality than you have so far imagined. If you hang on to what you think you know, you will not be able to see the whole truth. And I guess what I mean by truth is that any system we create to describe the phenomenal world is an abstraction, not the real thing. Because there are many other possibilities, always many other possibilities, than what we can see or describe. So just take that and sit with it, It's like, maybe frightening, I don't know, maybe depressing. But definitely in the Mahayana, it's considered to be extremely joyful. Extremely good news. So, any thoughts at this point? No? Okay.
Well, I missed the first part before you said that Mahayana is considered very joyful. What was the phrase before?
It might sound like a bad news that, that's, you can't describe reality.
Okay, I got you. Yeah,
But actually, it's really good news that you
Yes.
can't describe reality. It's bigger than what you can talk about.
Yeah.
So the one-page Heart Sutra, it's one page usually when we do it in the book, represents an essential summary of the entire Mahayana teachings on emptiness. So I'm just saying that because buried in every single word in there, and the way the words are put together, and the way it flows, is all the Mahayana understanding and teachings. They're all in there, okay? But we're not going to go into that, and we're going to leave that alone. But I'm just telling you that, for example, there's an idea, this goes back to dependent origination. For something to arise, for Dharma, for awakening to happen, you have to be in a conducive situation. You have to have willing students. You have to have a capable teacher. You have to have conditions for something to come. But if those conditions are present, things will happen. So they make a point of saying it was in Rajagriha, the Buddha was there, there was an audience. So they basically say the causes and conditions for this understanding to emerge were present, and therefore it emerged, You had to have Shariputra ask the question, you had to have Avalokiteshvara there to answer it. So that, for example, is all one of the levels at which this sutra exists. But, we're not in a graduate seminar on Mahayana, so. Yeah. Go get them, girl. So, let's, this sutra, I'm going to keep to my notes anyway. It's the most well-known and most commonly recited Mahayana sutra. In East Asia and even here in America, people say it every day. People memorize it, the whole thing. Mick and I used to say it every day in Berkeley. I have it pretty well memorized, although I'm older now. And one teacher said, even today, the chanting of this sutra can be heard in Tibetan monasteries, where it's recited in a deep-throated overtone, in Japanese Zen centers, where the chanting is done in tune with rhythmic beating of a drum, and in Chinese and Vietnamese temples where it is sung in melodious tunes. And we have, a teacher comes here, Anam Thupten sings it. He sings the mantra anyway. He doesn't sing the whole thing, but he sings the mantra in there.
In the liturgy we used to have here, I don't know if they still use it. It was all the whole
The whole
story
thing.
in there.
That's right. The whole thing. You say the whole thing.
That's said, sharp.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's read it, okay? You have your books with you? No? Laura, do you want to read it to us? Nick, you want to read it to us? Somebody want to read it to us?
What was it?
Okay, you have to start with "Thus have I heard" on page 154.
Okay, I can do the first
Start,
paragraph.
why don't you, yeah, let's do one paragraph at a time. So
Okay.
go ahead, Laura. Thank
Thus
you.
have I heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in
Rajagriha.
Rajagriha at the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a great gathering of the Sangha of monks and a great gathering of the Sangha of the Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi that expressed the Dharma called profound illumination. And at that time, noble
Avalokiteshvara.
Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva
Mahasa.
Mahasattva, while practicing the profound prajna paramita, saw in this way, he saw the five skandhas to be empty of nature.
Anybody else? You got it, Karen? You want to read the next paragraph?
Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to noble
Avalokiteshvara.
Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva
Mahasa.
Mahasattva.
Mahasattva.
Anyway, he said,
Sorry.
out loud, how should a son or daughter of noble family train who wishes to practice the profound
Prajna paramita.
prajna paramita? I say I have no idea what they're
Okay,
talking
that's
about,
okay.
but
That's okay. You guys got it? You want to read it, Ann? Or
Addressed in this way, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, said to Venerable Shariputra, O Shariputra, a son or daughter of noble family who wishes to practice the profound prajna paramita should see in this way. Seeing the five skandhas to be empty of nature. Form is emptiness. Emptiness also is form. Emptiness is no other than form. Form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are emptiness. Thus, Shariputra, all dharmas are emptiness. There are no characteristics. There is no birth and no cessation. There's no impurity and no purity. There's no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. No appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no dharmas. No I, dhatu, up to no mind, dhatu. No dhatu of dharmas, no mind consciousness, dhatu. No ignorance, no end of ignorance, up to no old age and death. No end of old age and death. No suffering, no origin of suffering, no cessation of suffering, no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since the Bodhisattvas have no attainment, they abide by means of prajna paramita. Since there is no obscuration of mind, there is no fear. They transcend falsity and attain complete nirvana. All the Buddhas of 3 times by means of prajna paramita fully awakened to insurpassable, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the great mantra, prajna paramita, the mantra of great insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering, should be known as truth, since there is no deception. The prajna paramita mantra is said in this way.
so it goes Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. And I have a little sort of a translation of that, but let's finish reading it before I do that, okay? Kristen, you want to read?
I don't, oh yeah, I can, I really don't,
You don't? You don't have to.
I don't love it.
You don't? Okay, Doug?
Thus, Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva should train in the profound prajna paramita. And I'll just continue. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family. Thus it is, O son of noble family, thus it is. One should practice the profound prajna paramita, just as you have taught, and all the Tathagatas will rejoice.
The Tathagatas are Buddhas.
Right. There's a little more.
Yeah.
When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra and noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, that whole assembly and the whole with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One.
And so the chunk of it's in this middle paragraph, right?
Yeah, that's the
Like
the hard
meat
part.
of it's right
That's the
there.
heart of the heart.
That's the heart of the heart.
I like how the, Thursday night group, they have it translated differently, and it's just easier to understand.
I was gonna say, okay, so Thich Nhat Hanh, Thursday night,
Yeah.
he wrote a new version of it. I emailed it to you, but I bet
Yeah.
you guys didn't save it. You have yours?
I think I had that version.
So I have 5 copies here if you want me to, if somebody wants to take one. And we're gonna read his version too.
I know I have
Oh, there you go.
one. You can go there. Oh.
Because he had some issue with well, he talks about why, and I gave you what he said about why.
Yeah.
But let me, let's go back and look at the,
So you don't have to get out one, this is the same, so I can share. So you're not gonna share it.
Rob and Ann want one if you got one. Yeah, okay. You got it on your, on your book?
Computer?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the mantra is translated like this. The Om means both nothing and everything. Of course it does. And it's just a word that often introduces a mantra to kind of say, here we go. Boom, we're gonna go. Yeah, exactly. And gate means gone, gone. And it suggests
Oh, yes, yes.
2 actions of, the first action of gone is dispelling obstacles, and the other is gone in terms of pouring wisdom into our being. So,
Where are you
Wisdom.
getting this translation? Where are you I know you got that.
I looked it up separately in a different
So
book.
can we do that? Like, because I'm trying to write it down, but I'm like, I think I might just put it up.
Yes, you can do
Or
that.
you could share what you found.
I'm gonna put my notes on the Google Drive.
That'd be great.
Okay, Om gate. Om, gone, gone. Paragate means gone beyond, and that is gone beyond to the unsurpassable emptiness or enlightenment. Parasamgate means going completely beyond, so there's no returning. Bodhi means perfect realization. Bodhi is another word for Buddha. And Svaha means may it be so. So Bodhi Svaha means may enlightenment be here. So, okay. Sounds like, I know it's complicated. And maybe part of why they make us recite it over and over and over and over again is so that finally we get comfortable with form is emptiness, emptiness is form, there's no other than form, blah, blah, right? All those contradictions, which are really hard to swallow sometimes. What? Brainwashing?
I mean, it has a very church growing up feel to it,
Oh, absolutely.
which I'm having a reaction to that I was not anticipating.
Oh, not me.
Just interesting.
That's very interesting. So cool that you can say that, and it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Well, and so, because in my mind, I'm like, is there not an English translation that you can use as a mantra? But no, it's because it was written like this too, because the syllables, the vowel, all of it has a resonance or a vibration.
Exactly.
It's supposed to.
Yeah, those are Sanskrit.
Right.
Those are Sanskrit words. The mantras are always in Sanskrit, and they are assumed to have, and they're the same. In China they say it this, and in Vietnam they say it this way, and Los Angeles and
Yeah.
Little Rock. But the syllables carry power, and they resonate in your body, and they help you get it. Okay, that's the idea. And I can see why that feels like, communion or something. Yeah, I can see that.
I would also say that as somebody who struggled with why am I saying something that I don't understand the words and the idea of like magic words and so forth, there's a kind of consistency that strengthens or actually we can kind of guide you away from spinning it your own way, trying to reinterpret it so that it makes sense to you, because the sense that you are bringing up when you say this mantra after all of that emptiness is like you're bringing that up, gone, all these, the structure of like this and that, I am now, all that stuff is dissolved. To the point to kind of stop that conceptual mind and just be. And so this evokes that rather than going, first, they explain them, like, oh yeah, the first level of gone, and then there's the absolutely gone. But it's more like, what is evoking you? You kind of train in that whole list of things is kind of bringing up the meat of it, of like, letting go of all those things, all those strings and thumbtacks that you've made, you put meaning to your life. Just wipe that open. So that mantra brings that up. And that is historic, it's also, it has a very lineage kind of quality to it that evokes those kind of feelings in humans in our psychology. And who knows, maybe there is some kind of resonance, magic word quality to it too, why not? But in a sense, it's like, that's not what's going on in a way. You're not just repeating abracadabra, unsafe.
Right.
It's not that, it's like bringing up absolute reality kind of.
Yeah,
That's
that's
more
great.
relevant for frames of concepts that we talked about at the beginning,
Yes, you
right?
can see all of them,
That's what it
every
is.
one of
Right.
Doug's lists almost. The Four Noble Truths are not true,
Right,
right? I was
right.
like, what? We just wrote them down in our notebooks. We got them, right?
Right.
And it's got, all of these, that you could list them, the 5 skandhas, and then there's the 6 senses or 6 senses, I can't remember anyway, they're all, every list is there, and he's going, forget your list. There's more to the world than that. And you think if you have your list, you think you know it, and if you stick around thinking you know it, you're missing the big picture. So if that's all we get out of this, that's fine, And I just want to emphasize how mind-blowing it was. They call it the Heart Attack Sutra. They do. People do.
I would say too is that, we do not, I kind of think of it as like, it's not like they're wiping out the usefulness of those categories.
No.
Or the analysis of those categories as to psychology and how it works and all like that, but it's our tendencies to concretize that system, that rigid, monument that we build in our heads with all the 5s, this and that. This is how it works. And we're suddenly very snug and comfy in our giant skyscraper of thoughts.
Right.
And they're saying, yeah, but hold off. It's not really there. It's useful. Don't give it up. You're not saying, fuck the old guys. We're into a brave new world. It's more
Right. But to make it less like like sounding like we're criticizing the Theravadins. I'm reading it saying there is no democracy. There is no, public education that saves the world. There is no, judicial system that is always fair. Those are all instructions about reality, and if I cling to them, I'm blinding myself to the way things really are.
Oh, that's hard attack mantra right there. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's really no hope and fear. It kind of says that, doesn't it? And the main thing is no attainment. I want to talk about attainment because we're all here because we want to attain certain things, right? Whatever they are for us personally. We want to attain something. But right there, we're imprisoning ourselves in a thought system of some kind.
Look at me, I'm empty, sad, I've got to get this enlightenment thing and then I'll be happy, and we set ourselves up with this duality.
Yeah, and thank goodness I'm not, a MAGA person. I'm so much better than that. I've got my system is better, or whatever.
So clinging to the teachings is a problem.
Is a problem. Better not define yourself as a good Buddhist because, whoops. So don't, I just want to say, if this is rubbing you a weird way, that's what it's supposed to do, first of all. And second of all, of course it is, because you just went through all of Doug's wonderful teaching, and now we're going, forget all of that, or that was all nice, but, there's more. We're not really saying it that way, and like Mick is right, those teachings are extremely helpful. So is democracy, to a certain degree, right?
But they're all just means to an end, right? They're not the end.
They're not the real thing, the whole thing, right?
Any science, any elementary school science class includes things that aren't accurate.
Yeah,
Then we start out with simple views of things.
Balls.
Yeah, and then we learn slightly more complicated insight, and I think this is just adding at the end, by the way, even this teaching is not true.
right.
Yeah.
Or there's more
Yeah.
than this. This isn't the end.
But the thing about a lot of these to me is that, Theravada is oriented towards the person who's walking the path, right? But a lot of these Mahayana teachings, they are from the point of view of the enlightened mind.
That's
Right? To the enlightened mind, no one needs saving. There aren't even any needs. From the point of view of pure, unconditioned, truth.
Yeah.
This is all just shadows,
Right.
And I think Mahayana is, it says the quiet part out loud, right? A lot of these teachings, it's like, this is somewhat implied in the Theravada, but it doesn't actually say all this. Because it's just not that style of teaching. It wasn't trying to present it from the point of view of the realized master.
Right. Because I think it's important, and my teacher, who's a Mahayana teacher for sure, said, you got to do the Theravada. There's no escaping it. There's no skipping over it.
Right.
Because that grounded individual work,
You have to train the mind.
you have to be trained.
You can't start out just all over the place and think you're going to get
No. And there's a lot of crazy people walking around thinking they're Buddhists and causing all kinds of harm to themselves and others because they never learn to sit with themselves and just be for the basic Theravada discipline.
Right.
So let me see, where am I in my notes? Okay, so then Thich Nhat Hanh in 2014, just a little while ago, and he died in like 16 or something, right? 22. So let's read his. I'm just going to read it for quickness' sake. So he calls it the insight that brings us to the other shore. Avalokiteshvara, while practicing deeply with the insight that brings us to the other shore, suddenly discovered that all the five skandhas are equally empty, and with this realization, he overcame all ill-being. Listen, Shariputra, this body itself is emptiness, and emptiness itself is this body. This body is not other than emptiness, and emptiness is not other than this body. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, Shariputra, all phenomena bear the mark of emptiness. Their true nature is the nature of no birth, no death, no being, no non-being, no defilement, no purity, no increasing, no decreasing. That is why in emptiness, body, feelings, perceptions, mental formation, and consciousness are not separate self-entities. The 18 realms of phenomena, which are the 6 organs, the 6 sense objects, and the 6 consciousnesses, also are not separate self-entities. The 12 links of interdependent arising and their extinction are also not separate self-entities. Ill-being, the causes of ill-being, the end of ill-being, the path, insight, and attainment are also not separate self-entities. Whoever can see this no longer needs anything to attain. Bodhisattvas who practice the insight that brings us to the other shore see no more obstacles in their mind. And because there are no more obstacles in their mind, they can overcome all fear, destroy all wrong perceptions, and realize perfect nirvana. All Buddhas in the past, present, and future, by practicing the insight that brings us to the other shore, are all capable of attaining authentic and perfect enlightenment. Therefore, Shariputra, it should be known that the insight that brings us to the other shore is a great mantra, the most illuminating mantra, the highest mantra, a mantra beyond compare, the true wisdom that has the power to put an end to all kinds of suffering. Therefore, let us proclaim a mantra to praise the insight that brings us to the other shore. And he has the same except for the Om. He has Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhisvaha. So different. I think easier to understand in a way. And it's the same message, right? When he wrote this translation, he also conveniently provided a document saying why I retranslated the whole sutra, which I also posted on our Google Drive, okay? But in that, he says, the insight of Prajnaparamita is the most liberating insight that helps us overcome all pairs of opposites, such as birth and death, defilements, and immaculacy. I've never heard that word before. Increasing and decreasing, subject and object, and so on. It helps us get in touch with the true nature of all phenomena, which is a state of coolness, peace, and non-fear that can be experienced in this very life, in your own body, and in your own 5 skandhas. It is nirvana. Just as the birds enjoy the sky and the deer enjoy the meadow, so do the wise enjoy dwelling in nirvana. In other words, his vision about emptiness is about what is there, not about what isn't there, right?
Yeah.
He's saying there's this blue sky. Folks,
Almost like fullness instead of emptiness.
fullness, that's right. So, what's not in there in that fullness is all the categories and the this and that, you know.
I think he does a good job.
Karen, just tell her jacket is here if she's leaving. Karen, your jacket's here.
I was thinking, he does mention they're not separate entities at the end of each of the little paragraphs, so I think that makes it clear. It's not that they don't exist,
Right.
but they're not separate in and of themselves. They exist in relationship to all the other things. And that we have these body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, but they're all related.
Right.
So they don't, I think that is helpful in
Yeah.
understanding it a little better.
Yeah, I think I also want to go back to what I said about nihilism and eternalism. There's a space in between those two, which is right now. Right now. So right now, you have these things that the conditions have been there for them to arise. But that doesn't mean that they are going to be here in the next now, right? It's very fluid. Yeah, Doug, did you want to say something? You made a noise.
No, that was me.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah, but, no, it must be felt on this when they say, it says something along the lines, there's no emptiness, there's nothing but, what was it? It's sort of not only is there not this and not that, but there's nothing other than this and nothing other than that.
Right.
And that leaves you with kind of everything and nothing at the same time. And it kind of reminds me of that yin and yang thing where everything has a seed of its opposite in it. You know, it's like you can't separate the opposite from each other. And together, it's a unified thing in some sense, but it's not a thing unto itself. And particularly the categories cannot be just put in boxes. So you are left with a very, I mean, I'm with a kind of fullness when I hear all of that, even though it says not this, not this. It actually starts rattling out and saying, yeah, it's not that either.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
and it's just like, there's kind of a, and yeah, it just sort of leaves you in space.
Yeah, what do you know? Floating in the clear blue sky. But the thing is that, also there is a way, I would rather know the truth. And the thing is, if we're not focusing on attaining anything, we have nothing to protect. We have no territory to defend. And so therefore we can be open to everything. And it's very, very, very liberating, and to me. And it's, but it is not comfortable. I do not want to see that, is this the death of democracy? I don't know, I hope not. But it could be.
When you mentioned earlier about the nihilism versus eternalism, in my mind, I put middle way in the middle.
Exactly.
The middle path, middle way. That's what I was thinking instead
Exactly.
of right now, but I guess they're the same thing.
Yeah. But it's funny because I never, when I started researching, I want to be able to say cogent things about nihilism and eternalism. And I had never realized they actually had to do with time. Nihilism is like, time doesn't matter. It's totally materialistic. And eternalism has to do with everything exists forever. Nothing exists, or everything that is here will be here forever. And then the Buddhists, right here in the middle, in terms of here and now. So that was very helpful to me. That, and morality or decency or goodness definitely matters, especially in the here and now. But it doesn't matter because it's going to make me better tomorrow.
Right. Matters in the moment.
Matters in the moment. Changes everything in the moment. And then Chogyam Trungpa's comment about love is just infinite, because there's no limitations. You don't have to not love these people because they're whatever, or whatever, or earn love from anybody. So the Sutra also kind of alludes to the practices that are done in Mahayana, which have a lot to do with convincing ourselves of emptiness. We do a lot of these like, we're gonna talk about that as we go forward. Next week, we're gonna talk about Tonglen and the whole Lojong stuff, which is all about letting go of clinging and stuff, believing in it, but also compassion. And it's important to remember that Avalokiteshvara is the embodiment of compassion. So a lot of the Mahayana teachings have to do with cultivating compassion. So, all of the Mahayana practices are designed to undermine attachments to limited perceptions and to arouse compassion. So for next time, please read chapter 14, which is right after this one, exchanging oneself for others. And it's going to be, I'm telling you the language, because these are from when, I don't remember when this guy lived. He died in 1542. So it's not going to be modern language, right? Just have to grin and bear it. But it's still pretty good, I think. And he's talking about how to practice this Prajnaparamita, basically. So I knew I was taking on some hard stuff here. I hope it's not too bad.
We hate you.
I know.
That is great.
Really, you should do. But it's this whole subject of emptiness is just everybody recoils from it. Yeah.
Well, it's the goal. You're not supposed to understand it as soon as you hear it.
Right.
It takes time.
Right.
I want to say one thing though. If you feel like Avalokiteshvara is a hard name to say, as he crossed the breadth of Asia and got to the east, it became a lot simpler. He was called Guan Yin, and it's a she. So.
That's funny.
So
It's
Guan
true.
Yin,
Guan Yin.
Bodhisattva.
And the syllables in his name refer to qualities he had. And I can't tell you what they are right now, but I remember I used
Isn't
to
it about
know
hearing
that.
the cries of the world?
And looking down, there's something about, he's the one who looked down and saw. Okay, you're looking for something.
I know, I can't stop. What y'all looking for?
What are you looking
So we're
for?
looking for Karen's car.
Keys, yeah.
Oh, we gotta find them. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
they're not in her pocket or anything, because they were.
And it's a super car piece.
I'll stop recording. Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. That's it for tonight.